Well, hello, hello.
Hey there.
This is Ryan here again with the CactusCon crew, and I am here with our keynote speaker for the day, Eva Galperin. Thank you so much for your talk today.
It's my pleasure.
So, just first off, before we even get into the Q&A, I just once again want to thank you and the EFF for joining alongside us. We've been really, kind of dying to have participation from the EFF for a couple of years now, and the fact that we have you both, a couple of you in our midst is just awesome. So once again, thank you. And number of questions from the chat. Is there anything that you'd like to bring up or to mention yourself before we get into that? Anything you want to throw out there? Or
I figured I would just start with thanking everyone. You guys have done such a wonderful job of organizing this con, and it's been so long since I've been to a physical hacker convention that it's really nice to be in this Discord room that feels very much like the hacker cons of old.
good. That makes us feel really good to hear that. So awesome. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump into some questions here. We've got around 11 minutes before the next talk starts. So let's get to it. One of the questions, and I think I'm making the decision here, I'm going to read off all these Discord names. So rather, I think I'm just going to bust out with a question. First question, if relevant, thoughts on Clearview AI current issues in Canada regarding mass collection of people's biometric data through facial recognition. Does the EFF help deal with those kinds of situations?
Well, to begin with, there is currently a lawsuit against Clearview AI, and in the United States that I'm fairly certain that we're doing an amicus on. The defense is that they're mounting is essentially that scraping all of Facebook in order to pull everyone's pictures and then putting them in a giant biometric database is in fact free speech. And as much as EFF loves free speech, and boy, are we some like crazy free speech maximalists, no. If you want to see EFFers get really mad, show them an issue where free speech goes up against privacy, and you will see them bare their fangs. I am keeping up less with the situation in Canada, but EFF does have an international team that looks at Canadian issues specifically and is more familiar with Canadian law than I am.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Next question for you. Is the EFF going to open back up the internships program?
Well, we actually do have interns. The EFF has interns for the summer. From law schools. So if you're thinking about going to law school, we take everything from 1Ls to 3Ls. And those internships are currently remote because our office is also remote. The EFF office is closed so that we don't give everyone and each other the plague. And I expect that it will remain closed for a while. We also have some volunteer opportunities. EFF specifically my team, Threat Lab, works. It has worked with teams of students at the University of Nevada at Reno in order to work on our sort of Atlas of Surveillance project. One of my colleagues is also a professor at the University of Nevada at Reno and has just moved there. We take volunteers, at the sort of student level. Fairly often, as long as we have specific projects that they're interested in working on. And also, we have a technical mailing list. We have a mailing list that you can get onto if you email info@eff.org, which is called Cooperating Technologists. And that is where EFF sends messages when we need somebody with a specific technical skill to work on a specific project, and we're looking for volunteers.
That's awesome. Thank you for that little tidbit. We'll drop that in the chat. That's EFF.org, Cooperating Technologists. Cool. Next question for you. Where do you draw the line between parental control software, oh, I know where this is going, I have a 9-year-old daughter, spying on your kids, versus using similar tools to watch spouse and or family? I'm especially curious to where you draw that line with family members with dementia or destructive addictive behavior.
Well, as it happens, I have given this some thought. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter who you're spying on. It does not matter whether you are tracking the behavior of a child, or you're tracking the behavior of your spouse, or even a parent with dementia. What matters is whether or not you are tricking them into thinking that they're not being spied on. That is really the defining element of stalkerware. If you have to fool your kids into thinking that they're not being, that you're not watching them in order to catch them doing something, you might want to consider doing some parenting. Likewise, if you feel like you have to do this with your spouse, you might want to consider, a divorce, because at this point, you already know what you're going to find. And if you don't know what you're going to find, and you're doing this in order to control your partner, you're being an abuser, and that sort of stuff is really not okay.
So I think that is extremely relevant to many of us who are here right now. I'm a blue teamer through and through, hardcore. And the home lab, right? The quote unquote home lab, whether it's an actual server rack or just a box running PF Sense, whatever, is a very common thing that we discuss and that we have in our environments. Many of us have them. For that matter, during the interview process at last job, my last job, and current job now, one of the things we do is do you have a home lab? Now, there's a connotation to that. Are you spying on your whole family? Are you doing SSL decryption too? Are you seeing all the stuff they do? So, were I to have mine enabled, I actually don't have one enabled for kind of reasons because of that. That's something you definitely need to think about. We have a 9-year-old daughter, but I also have a not 9-year-old wife. Well, that'd be weird if I had a 9-year-old wife. Sorry, bad joke. So my wife, if I'm looking at, our daughter's stuff, would I see her stuff? And like, how does that translate? So that's a really good topic to kind of mull over. I like that. Thank you for that feedback.
No problem.
I must have missed the first part of this question, so I'm going to go back to it here. Just give me one moment. Right here. Scrolling up. And I'm going to move on and come back to that one. So the question there then is, could you provide some example about the Latin America region, specifically Venezuela?
I will start with the general Latin American region. Generally, we have a director for our Latin American work. Her name is Keynote Rodriguez. She is originally from Peru. Keynote kicks my ass in the sense that I have personally taken part in the overthrow of 0 governments, and she was there for the overthrow of the authoritarian government in Peru. So that's pretty cool. We have other people who have lived in Brazil mostly, doing work for us in the Latin American region. And Threat Lab is taking part in a project in which we are sending FOIA requests to a bunch of Latin American governments. I mean, not actual FOIA requests, because FOIA is an American law, but essentially we are testing out their versions of FOIA to see whether or not they even work. Because if they do, oh man, we've got some, we have questions that we will be asking. We definitely have some stuff that we want to map out in the area of privacy and surveillance throughout Latin America. Venezuela is sort of a different issue. Often the Latin American countries that EFF does the most work in are divided up into 2 categories. One is countries where the government is very actively spying on dissidents and journalists and sort of people who speak truth to power. And this can be anything from Venezuela to, say, the government of Mexico, The Mexican government is actually a wide and sprawling thing, and then there's the whole question of what part of the Mexican government is spying on you, and it matters. But there have definitely been people in the Mexican government who have used spyware, not commercially available spyware, but spyware that they have mostly purchased from the NSO Group, to spy on their political opponents. We have not seen that in Venezuela. I would be super interested in seeing some Venezuelan government malware. And if anybody has any, just send it directly to me.
Like, not be a virus total, just fire it right on over in an email.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much. Due to time, we need to wrap up. There are some additional questions for you. I also want to mention to folks playing along that we had a giveaway winner, and the giveaway winner receives a towel. You can go ahead and choose exactly what you'd like. That goes to Root Addict. And I actually give away one instead of 2 towels. So I'm going to give away another towel along with our next giveaway, which is coming up right now. Eva, thank you so, so much. And our 11 o'clock talk is just about to start. So, hey, again, thank you. Thank you for being here with us.
Always know where your towel is.